thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Yeah. Good morning, everybody. That's right. It is Monday, December 16th, you guys. And today is, oh man, get ready for this. It's National Chocolate Covered Anything Day, you guys.
All right.
Cover me in chocolate.
Shout out to chocolate, you guys. Chocolate for the win. It is also Barbie and Barney Backlash Day, you guys.
Wait, say that again?
What?
Barbie and Barney Backlash Day.
Dang it. It's my day, dude.
Yeah,
Barney Backlash.
Not to get confused with eyelashes, you know what I'm saying, but this is for the actual backlash, you guys. You know, I remember as kids, people going around and beating up Barney and people when he show up at different places and whatnot.
Sounds like Barbie and Barney are getting kinky.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I mean, those furries, that is a thing too. You know what I'm saying? So fair enough. And you guys, today is also a very, very special day for America, you guys. Are you ready for this? It's also the anniversary of the Boston Tea Party, you guys.
What?
Yeah, today is the anniversary of the Boston Tea Party. December
16th, huh?
Most people don't know that.
Crates in the water.
That's right. It's barrels full of tea, you know what I'm saying?
Screw taxes.
Exactly, screw taxes, you know what I mean? You know, I try to say this all the time, but Thomas Jefferson said it's every American's duty to pay as least tax as possible, so shout out to him.
Right.
And you guys, there's one other big thing going on today. Are you ready for this? Big part of American history, you guys. Big part of cannabis history today. 10 years ago today, the Rohrabacher-Farr Amendment was signed into law today, you guys. Today is the 10-year anniversary of the Rohrabacher-Farr, the single and only bill, Cole, that protects and has allowed the industry to grow into what we all see it and know it as today. What do you have to say about that, Cole? Mr. Cole Memo?
Well, I have to say that I love the Rohrabacher-Farr Amendment. That's all I have to say.
All right, fair enough. I can accept that. And thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above and down below on your screen to see exactly where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, X, Instagram, Facebook, and on our very own website at www.highat9news.com. So thank you all for joining us from whatever platform you are joining us from. And just a quick little housekeeping note, you guys. Starting next year, I think, Jesse, we decided we're going to go with this, is we are going to stop streaming on Twitch, Facebook, and Instagram. And we're just going to focus on YouTube, Rumble, X. And I believe that we're going to be having a Roku channel coming up in the next year. So we're working on that to try to get that fixed out. But I think that's the plan and what we're going to do. So if you do watch us on any of those platforms, make sure you migrate to one of these other platforms because you're not going to find us come 2025 over there. But Jenny Beth, so nice of you to join us today, Jenny.
Hey, Jenny.
I can leave.
Jenny, do you want to kick off the show today? Because Rico is out, and it's National Chocolate Covered Anything Day today.
Oh, so any chocolate person will do? Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah, I mean, you said it, not me. Whoa.
Nice work, Jenny. You walked right into it. That was great.
All right. Well, we're kicking it off today. That's right. It is Miss Jenny Beth Dills. She is America's sweetheart, and she is the founder of Kind Cannabis, as well as Justice Served, a 501c3 that helps justice impact individuals get their lives back on track and a whole host of other things. That's right. It is none other than Miss Jenny Beth Dills.
Read it for myself because I have to keep it reading slow. But businesses in New York are facing further delays as a lawsuit halts the licensing process once again. New York's troubled adult use cannabis program has hit yet another legal roadblock. The state judge has temporarily barred regulators from processing thousands of business applications, including some 340 conditional adult use retail dispensary applications. The decision stems from a lawsuit filed by 4 companies, Organic Blooms, Niagara Nugget, Blackmark, and Windward Management, who claim the state's Office of Cannabis Management overstepped its authority by waiving key requirements for early applicants. The court agreed, finding that bypassing rules requiring secured retail locations and municipal notifications likely violated New York's cannabis laws. The restraining order has left many in the industry frustrated, as the backlog now affects thousands of applicants from late 2023, adding to the strain of New York's cannabis market is already struggling with over half of dispensaries failing to hit $1 million in annual revenue. The legal battle continues with a court conference scheduled for December 18th to determine the next steps. For now, businesses face yet another delay in what's becoming a long and uncertain journey. New York should scrap it and start over because they have done every step of this process incorrectly. And yeah, you can't circumvent your own regulations. That's absolutely ridiculous. So I think that they're going to lose this one. And I think that, unfortunately, for all these people who are on pause now, this lawsuit is valid. So I'll throw it back to you guys, but New York, get your shit together.
Man, New York's, man, oh man. New York is, I don't think New York is ever going to get their shit together, Jenny Beth. And this could mean possibly some punitive damages, you think, for some of these applicants?
Maybe, I don't know. I think that they're just going to have to start it over again. And that sucks, like, because you see, listen, regulators fuck up all the time. I'm dealing with LADCR right now because they fucked up on an approval for a pre-app that they should have approved because there was a preschool there that wasn't on ZMIS. So they fuck up, and that's why we have to file things like government claims, because they're not going to pay you damages. They're not going to say, oops, sorry, my fuck up cost you 6 months of runway. Sorry, my fuck up cost you 6 months of rent that you paid on something you could never open. So I don't know if it's going to directly correlate to, financial damages, but something's going to happen, and I think the lawsuit's going to stand pretty firm, and they're probably going to have to invalidate all those early approvals they gave out.
Oh man, so there's going to be some retractions, it sounds like.
We'll see, buddy.
Man, oh boy, man. New York is just the gift that keeps on giving. What do you think about this, Jesse? You on mute, Jess?
Same thing. I mean,
think the same thing.
New York's been clearly crushing it, and this is just another step. So Jenny's right. New York, I don't know how they're going to go back to the beginning with all of this, but
I mean, you just start from scratch. I mean, it's like, you know what I'm saying? It's just like cooking, right? You know what I'm saying? You get your base ingredients and you start chefing it up.
The problem is it's a little more like building a house. You got to. That's why regulation is so difficult, is because once you start going down the path, it's very hard to tear things down and build new things.
Interesting, you guys. Cole Memo, you have any thoughts on this, Cole?
It's the concrete jungle where dreams are made of, and sounds like the regulators are asleep at the wheel for those dreams.
That is so true. Russell joining us from the Texas Hemp Reporter. You have any thoughts on this, Russ, out there in the great state of Texas?
Not too much. I don't. I just know that New York is. I guess it's just been behind with the regulation on it. Isn't that black market kind of run crazy with everything that's been going on there the last year or two?
Yeah, bro. Well, I call it the freedom market, bro. Freedom market out there. You know what I mean? It's the bodega shops. Everybody's got it popping, and it's a great place to be to get your brand out there, get seen, and of course dump all of your mids in somewhere else besides Texas.
It's just another example of where, when regulators say market forces to be damned, they're shown that you can't really do that. You can't just stifle natural market forces.
That's right. You can't change people's behavior. People are going to want to buy weed regardless of whether or not you tell them that they can or can't. I mean, it's been happening for decades.
And that's exactly what I was going to say, is like, we've already been buying our weed. We have no trouble acquiring the weed. The problem has always been, getting criminalized for that behavior. I'm not saying stores aren't welcome or cool or good, but yeah, the problem has always just been that the law enforcement has criminalized this nonviolent behavior.
Fair enough. Jenny Beth, my first story, because Rico's out today because he got food poisoning. I wonder if he had some bad chocolate, possibly anything.
You're so dumb, Jason.
Maybe it was some, curdled milk chocolate or something. Who knows? But
sure.
Yeah. When we come back, I have a story for New York too. So since you had a New York story, I have a New York story that I'm gonna do next. I can't wait for you guys to hear about this, and we're gonna be right back after this first commercial.
Golf course,
and we're back, Jenny Beth. We're back. No time for a nappy nap today. We're back. Boy. Well, I'm gonna go.
And up next, we have the High at 9 head honcho with another story from New York, Jason Beck.
Oh man, cute, Jenny Beth. Man, all right. Since we're out here on the East Coast, you know what I'm saying, we're gonna keep this thing rolling. Oh man, you guys here. Oh, there we go. There it goes. Because New York marijuana regulators, you guys, after the big blunder that Jenny just talked about, they want to ponder limiting on retail licenses, you guys. That's right. Regulators in New York will consider imposing a temporary limit of 1,600 marijuana retail licenses issued by the state, you guys. That's the non-binding suggestion sent to the State Cannabis Control Board by the Cannabis Advisory Board, which voted to approve the recommendation on Friday. CAB Chair Joseph Belluck confirmed to MJ Biz Daily and says that the CCB would have to take further action for any limit to take effect, you guys. Belluck stressed that the delay in the new permits would be temporarily subject to constant revocation, you guys. The notion of limiting permits at all is a new development bound to generate controversy in New York, where regulated marijuana retailers' sales are finally approaching the $1 billion with a B dollar mark per year after a rollout plagued by lawsuits and competition from the illicit market. The limit, which Bullock insisted is not a license cap, I just have to say, stop the cap. Like these impediments in other states, it's meant to keep both the New York market and its social equity operators avoid struggles seen in other states, you guys. Now look at how they're trying to portray this. In a quote, they say, "It's not a license cap. It's a recommendation about how many licenses should be approved right now," said Bullock, who noted that the New York has issued permits to operators that have yet to open for businesses and might not actually even open at all. The idea is, in quotes, to try and do this in a smart way to both grow the market and to protect people who are opening retail locations, he added. In an additional quote, he says, "We don't want to be in a position where revenues are declining because so many stores are opening. Whether the CCB adopts the CAB's advice or chooses to limit retail licenses to another number, we'll have to wait until the CCB meets next year, you guys." Well, that's not too far away. The State Office of Cannabis Management, which is separate from the CCB but follows the board's direction, did not immediately respond to a request for comment on Friday. And during Tuesday's Cannabis Control Board meeting, the OCM acting executive director Felicia Reed said the agency is taking pains to not saturate, in quotation marks, the state's fragile regulated marijuana market, which is starting to recover from a slow rollout, you guys. Man, oh man. However, it remains to be seen how many permits are too many in New York, a state of 20 million people that includes the nation's most populous and most visited city. Data presented to CCB and cited during Tuesday's meeting suggests that New York might be able to support as many as 2,000 stores. And with twice the population, California has 1,219 licensed marijuana retailers. If they're basing that off of that, that's just totally ridiculous, according to state data, you guys. And many of those are struggling under the weight of heavy taxes and falling sales, according to CAB's recommendation on Friday. And in the quote, they say, "Once there are more than the slated 2,000, we will see the market compression in New York," they say. They also say these protections are imperative both for the success of existing operators and those seeking to secure a license, the board recommendation added. They also say, however, to grant all qualifying persons a license at the same time is irresponsible to the market that has already seen a slow and bumpy rollout, you guys. And meanwhile, nearby New Jersey last year eliminated a cap on cultivation facilities, and neighboring Connecticut has a strict license cap where permits are awarded by the lottery. And it's unclear how many cannabis business license applicants would be impacted by the proposed limit. It's also unclear if and when permitting will resume in earnest at all. And a state judge on Thursday ordered the OCM to temporarily stop issuing new conditional adult use retail dispensary, those are known as the CURD permits, as well as all other provisional cannabis licenses. But the CAB's discussion to acknowledgement of a widely held principle, it's easier to turn a profit in the limited license states such as Connecticut and Maryland than in states with no licensing limit such as California and Michigan. But since New York has no license cap, and since thousands of applicants for marijuana business licenses applied for permits last year, believing the state would not limit licenses, the CAB's recommendation raises questions for both license holders and applicants, an observer said. According to Bullock, part of the CAB's motivation for a cap isn't to benefit large players, but to boost social equity permit holders, including participants in the CURD program, who were supposed to benefit from New York's 2021 legalization law. Some of those operators are already struggling to pay back expensive loans, and critics of these license caps say such limits create artificial scarcity and empower government officials to pick winners and losers rather than the free market. And that's where New York's suggested limit will differ, Bullock told MJ Biz Daily on Friday. In a quote, he says, "I think the market should largely determine what happens, but we have legislation and a law that sets some priorities that we have to be sensitive to," he said. In a quote, "We want the market to succeed and we want the people in that market to succeed, and that requires some balancing, you guys." Man, oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man, you guys. New York, the gift that keeps on giving. They want to put a cap on all these retail licenses, and I just feel like people are just going to get screwed in this again and again and again. And I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
I mean, Jason, we might not have a state license cap, but let's be fair. Most municipalities in the state of California have undue concentration, and they reach those and then you can't get a license. So it's about, making sure that no area is overly concentrated. Now, whether you think that's right or wrong, we just, we do the same shit here.
I mean, it sounds like to me, Jenny Beth, though, that they're basing that 2,000 number based off of the licenses that are issued in California, and they're not equating the fact that a majority of cities have a ban on all cannabis businesses altogether due to local control in the League of Cities and other things that are floating around out here in California.
I mean, I think they probably have the same thing going there, right? Like, is every municipality in New York accepting cannabis licensing?
Well, that's just it. Like,
oh, go ahead, Cole, please.
I feel like these things can be worked out at a local level. And in fact, I've been to a few different municipalities in Illinois where they set license limits on different businesses. So we only want X amount of bars in this city. We only want X amount of, smoke shops, dispensaries, you name it. And so for the state to set this at a state level, it's like, let the localities work it out.
Yeah, but if you let the localities work it out, Cole, then they just screw things up, and then we have
small government. Jason, come on.
Oh man, then we run into stories like what Jesse's going to cover today. Oh man, oh look at this! It's like a whole tailspin, Jesse.
It's not small government though. That's another result of big government. Too many people with their fingers in the pie.
Yep, exactly. Lots of people with fingers in the pie, bro.
And regulation creates the pie. So just a reminder, folks, regulation is not the same as legalization.
It's just that big pie in the sky, Jesse. These guys. I mean, Russell, out there in Texas, can you imagine if all of a sudden the state of Texas gave all these local municipalities control to say, hey, you know what, you guys can have cannabis, but the local municipalities have to adopt some type of ordinance and create an ordinance. Can you imagine how many cities and townships in Texas are gonna be similar to California and the League of Cities and whatnot, and just say outright hard stop, nothing's gonna open in our jurisdictions?
Well, I don't know. I mean, that's how. Where's the data that it shows that the revenue goes down when there's more stores, more retails? It's just funny to me because Texas is 30 million Texans, and we don't have marijuana here. We just have hemp, but there's 7,000 retailers in Texas, and basically it's a free market here. So. I don't know where the data is coming from that they're saying that it goes down when you have more stores, but Texas, led the nation in hemp sales.
You guys are like a spread out New York
recently.
in Texas out there, huh?
Yeah, very spread out. It fit about the northeast coast to fit inside of Texas.
Man.
Yeah,
man.
and
Go ahead.
I would just say it's like, prices do compress in open licensed states, but the way that I look at it is, like Michigan, Oregon, and Oklahoma. But the only people that complain about markets with unlimited licenses are those that are too weak to compete. And the one group that isn't complaining are cannabis consumers that get their products at an affordable price. Put another way, we want to vote with our dollars legally, but we can't until everybody is on the ballot. And my closing thought on this is just, what did you say? 1,500 cannabis dispensaries they're looking at limiting it to, right? Something like that?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
2,000.
Okay, so in New York, 2,000. Okay, in New York, this is just a quick Google. I'm getting numbers between 3,800 and 4,800 liquor stores exist in New York. And just putting all of that aside, the real
that's just in New York City, right? That's just in New York City. That's not in the entire state.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
No. I'm saying the 4,800. I think the 4,800 number that you're referencing, Cole, I think is just in New York City. I don't think that's entirely in the state of New York. I think there's more than 4,800 in the state of New York.
Yeah, that's a good point. And again, the foundation of your report, though, and I asked some regulators this earlier this week, and I've never really gotten a great answer, but why do cannabis regulators prioritize ensuring the success of licensees, unlike other industries like restaurants where we all accept 80% of businesses go out of business in the first 5 years? And in those industries, the focus is usually on consumer safety and compliance. Now, I do understand that some industries like utilities also regulate market saturation, but I don't understand why cannabis would fall into this category. Why is oversaturation prevented to protect licensees rather than allowing market forces to just determine success?
Well, it's because they sold all these people a dream, is telling them that they're going to get a license and that's going to be their retribution for the war on drugs. That's their version of reparations for the war on drugs. These social equity licenses. All of a sudden, it's everybody's meal ticket to make millions and millions of dollars, and it's just they just sold them a pipe dream and sold them a whole bunch of debt.
True.
What are you gonna say, Jenny Beth? I know I can see you sitting on something.
I mean, it is what it is, Chase.
It is what it is.
It doesn't sound like they're going to have many licenses opening, period, because this lawsuit is going to hold them up. So, cool.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on that, Jenny Beth. I don't think they're going to have much opening up either. These lawsuits are definitely going to hold them up without a doubt.
Long live the trap in New York.
Yes, exactly. Shout out to all those 4,800 liquor stores in New York that are just selling weed in the open and free market as if they were in Texas, right, Russell?
Well, let's see, man. I was trying to find some data on here on how many liquor stores there were in New York or in, but I can't find anything on here. So maybe you're right. Maybe that's 30, 48. What was your figure that you found, Cole? Was it 3,800, 40?
Between 38 and 4,800 were some numbers I was getting off the Google. Yeah.
Off the Google, huh?
Off the Google.
Cute.
Sound real old there, huh?
All right. Fair enough. We're going to keep this train rolling. We're going to roll right on in to Mr. Jesse Barney. He's the founder of Jesse Barney Design Co. He does graphic work, branding, illustration, all types of meticulous work that most people say they do but don't really do. That's right. If you saw a recent post he posted, he did his green screen and it looked fabulous. But he was being a perfectionist, and he was like, yeah, but can you tell me how much blue and how much yellow is actually in your green to make it perfect? That's right. It is none other than the perfectionist himself, Mr. Jesse Barney.
Thank you, Jason. My story this morning tags onto a story that Jenny Beth read last Tuesday. Investigation sought into California senator over cannabis permit bribery scheme by Madeline Armstrong out of the Center Square. An unnamed member of the California legislature has been accused by the DOJ for soliciting and accepting bribes up to $200,000 in a scheme involving bribes in exchange for a Baldwin Park politician's vote over the city permitting cannabis process. Jeez, that's a long sentence. This person is referred to as Person 20 and described in detail. A recent story from the Los Angeles Times inferred that this individual could be Senator Susan Rubio. While she's not named in the documents, Person 20 is described as a public official who was in a position to terminate the Baldwin Park city attorney between 2017 and 2018 and was running for state office through November 2018, all of which apply to Rubio. In a recent unsealed plea agreement, former city manager Robert Manuel Nacionales Tafoya claimed that the unnamed individual requested $30,000 in cash payments, that's all, that should be put into their state campaign account. Tafoya said that the individual agreed to protect his job and assist him financially in exchange for the money. A spokesperson from Rubio's office responded to the Times saying that Rubio has no reason to believe that she would be included in any criminal actions. Two former top city officials in Commerce and Baldwin Park, Edgar Pascual Cisneros, 42, the former city manager, and Tafoya pled guilty to the federal bribery and tax evasion charges in this case. According to the court documents, former Baldwin Park City Council member Ricardo Pacheco began soliciting bribes from companies seeking marijuana permits after the city started issuing them in 2017. Cisneros helped a company obtain a marijuana permit and related approvals through approximately $45,000 in bribes, and the company promised to pay Cisneros at least $235,000 to help secure the permit, reads a new release from the U.S. Attorney's Office. Tafoya facilitated a bribery scheme involving former Compton City Council member Isaac Galvin, in which Galvin sought to obtain a marijuana permit for his consulting client, also through bribes to Pacheco. Tafoya further admitted to evading payment of approximately $650,000 in federal tax liability. Assemblymember Bill Asaley submitted a letter December 12th that was requesting an investigation into who person 20 could be. Although the plea agreement does not specifically name the individual legislator, there is sufficient information contained within the record to warrant an immediate investigation by the Assembly and Senate Ethics Committees to identify the person described in the plea agreement and to consider any and all appropriate disciplinary action, reads the letter. The public trust placed in every elected member of California legislature must not only be protected against clear criminal violations, but must also be safeguarded against any appearance of impropriety. In a statement on X, Asaley said that there is a rotten culture of corruption in Sacramento. It's unacceptable for legislators to financially benefit from abusing their powers while everyday Californians are struggling just to survive under their current Democrat regime, reads the statement. We need major reforms and accountability for our state elected officials. There has yet to be a response to the letter. Man, things are spicy in California. Lots of bribes being thrown around, and now there's a senator involved. It was just the councilman, but apparently it goes up the ladder.
Just keeps on climbing and climbing and climbing, Jesse.
Yep. I wonder how high it goes. Haha.
Oh, I see what you did there. That was cute. I see what you did there, Jesse. That was pretty good. Pretty good. Lots of corruption going on in California. I mean, I'm not surprised by this at all. In all reality, I mean, there's been plenty of bribes that municipalities and elected officials have taken in regards to issue licenses. We've seen it happen in a number of municipalities. You know, Adelanto, Baldwin Hills, you know, city of Bell, all kinds of these corrupt elected officials.
Well, the whole licensing scheme kind of makes it really easy to do that. I mean, tagging onto the story right before in New York, if you're going to do a license cap, you're funneling down the amount of people who want licenses into this small number of people, and all of a sudden, people get willing to do more extreme things to get that license.
It's a breeding ground for corruption, Jesse.
Yeah.
It's just all of a sudden, you know what I mean? Instead of planting weed, there's just planting corruption everywhere.
Overregulation is a breeding ground for corruption.
What do you have to say,
people
Jen?
want people.
Oh, go ahead, Russ.
No, I was just going to say, just, you know, people wanting a larger piece of the pie. It just seems like that happens. We had a situation similar in Texas a year or two ago. It was one of the ag commissioner's aide was accused of issuing licenses for money, and actually pled guilty here maybe 3 months ago. The aide to our agriculture commissioner in Texas pled guilty. Todd Smith pled guilty to a second charge of theft under an indictment that was made to him under alleging that he had taken bribes to get hemp licenses way back in 2020 when a hemp license back then was only $100. So it was a really weird case. But you know, the corruption is out there, and it's certainly not just New York. It's California, it's Texas, it's everywhere.
Fair enough. I mean, Cole, you live in like the capital of government corruption out there in Illinois and in Chicago and whatnot. I mean, you know, that's the land of daily politics where it's always, you know, they had the cemetery vote out there, and the motto out there was vote early and vote often.
Yeah, we also had, you know, politicians that could call a quorum in prison. So yeah, we really, you know, we are pioneering corruption. So, it's done.
Making corruption great again, huh?
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, Cole. I mean, Cole, how many small town municipalities out there have there been corruption busts in Illinois, in regards with cannabis licensing?
Oh, with cannabis licensing, I would say that if people want to look at the ties in cannabis licensing and how, seemingly corrupt it was, I won't go so far as to say, it's all 100% clear cut, but check out my mini doc at colememo.com/mini-doc. We lay out how several former and current regulators have found themselves conveniently in the industry. Yeah. So it's definitely, commonplace.
Fair enough.
For sure.
Fair enough. Brian Dombrowski in the chat, he says, we went from manila envelopes to political contributions. I missed the envelopes. I felt safer then.
Yeah, we went from bribery to gratuities too.
Right. I mean, in all fairness, tip your bud tenders, bro. Tip your bud tenders, because it's all about weed for the people. You know what I'm saying? All right, fair enough. You guys are a lively bunch today. We're going to keep this rolling. We're going to roll into a commercial, and we're going to be right back. I just ordered the summertime strawberry salad when added steak on top here at Anna's. Make sure you do the same thing too next time you're in downtown Long Beach. Come on down and check out Anna's joint on the 400 block of Pine Street. They have amazing selection of beers, foods, and when you come down here to Anna's, you can even challenge me to a game of shuffleboard if you want to lose. Did you get that? So, next time you're in downtown Long Beach on Pine Avenue, make sure you stop by Anna's Joint on the 400 block. Not only do they have Anna's Joint, this restaurant and bar, but they also have the amazing deli next door, and then next door to that, they have a very exotic flower shop. You may want to stop by and say hi. All right, stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you smash that like button. I know we'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate it, and YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed already. We just need like 14 more subscribers to be at 5,100, and then we will have got 100 followers in a week. So help us accomplish that goal today, you guys. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show, you can read directly on our website at www.highatnightnews.com. Are you all ready for America's new #1 D9 gummy line? That's right, we are bringing to you Parody Gummy. These vegan gummies are manufactured in a safe harbor facility, so you know they're gonna be clean and safe, and they're not gonna give you any of the runaround. Coming in, we have 3 amazing flavors for you. We have the Raspberry Riots. Also, we have the Sleepy Joes if you need something to help you sleep at night. And if you're feeling like raging and having a party time, that's right, we have the Pineapple Bad Hombre. If you're feeling like a bad hombre, make sure you head over to www.parodygummy.com and secure your bag today. Oh yes, and we are back, you guys. Coming up next, that's right, it's the man who loves to troll, and his name is Cole. He's the founder of the Cole Memo, and does a lot of different type of investigative journalism, as what he just stated previously. You can find him at thecolememo.com, as well as the Cole Memo on YouTube, and maybe he has a Twitter channel too, or an X channel too. That's right, it is none other than Mr. Cole Preston.
I did an applause last time for the applause. Thank you, Jason. Really excited to be back on the show once again. You can find a lot of my work at colememo.com. This week, we are following up on a story that we teased last week. I actually teased it. Speaking of my Twitter, yeah, you can follow me at the Cole Memo, or on X, I guess as they call it now.
X,
I'd hinted. That's right. I hinted that something interesting might happen on Friday the 13th, and true to form, Governor Pritzker, after a surprise appearance in Paris and nearly 3 weeks out of the public eye, reemerged alongside cannabis regulators, lawmakers, the CEO of a candy company, and others to announce his support for a bill that critics argue would effectively ban all hemp-derived legal THC products from being sold anywhere but the small and tightly controlled number of dispensaries in Illinois, right? So the bill that he announced his support for was House Bill 4293, which initially focused on regulating massage therapists. The original language on massage therapy was removed and replaced with provisions targeting federally legal cannabis products. It's a practice that's common in Illinois called gut and replace. So what this measure would do is it would impose $10,000 fines, daily fines, by the way, on top of the criminal penalties that are already outlined in the Illinois Cannabis Control Act, which was originally created in 1978. So we're really pushing it forward here in Illinois. In doing so, it would significantly increase the penalties for cultivation, processing, and sale of cannabis flower, concentrates, and infused products. Now, Governor Pritzker made this quote. He said, quote, "These products are often shipped from out of state and are subject to no oversight or testing for biological contaminants or pesticides," end quote. And it's funny that he mentioned that because this bill, which was confirmed by the lead sponsor, would not affect online sales, leaving out-of-state retailers like Parody Gummy free to serve Illinois consumers. House Bill 4293 exclusively targets Illinois businesses. Reporting has also suggested that House Bill 4293 would even prohibit the retail sale of topical or ingestible CBD products, you guys. These are items popular among pet owners, arthritis sufferers, and those that once provided a lifeline, this is an Illinois reference maybe, for the now defunct family video stores across Illinois. Governor Pritzker downplayed the impact that this may have during a Q&A with the media when critics asked about the concerns from critics who argue that House Bill 4293 could criminalize non-intoxicating products, right? The CBD lotion that your grandma loves, and put 10,000 people out of work. Governor Pritzker dismissed the claims, stating, quote, "I don't put any stock in those claims," end quote. He acknowledged that many stores would lose the ability to sell these products, but emphasized that most affected businesses, such as convenience stores and gas stations, are not solely reliant on these sales, and, quote, "wouldn't go out of business not selling them," end quote. So throughout his remarks, the governor also repeatedly invoked images of danger. I wish we could share the picture that the governor himself took holding up the Nerds candy. He was talking about deceptive packaging and mimicking popular candy brands, untested products with unknown contaminants, and children as young as 2 accidentally consuming these items. Pritzker blamed a, quote, "legal gray area," end quote, for fostering an industry that lacks commitment to child safety, and used alarming national poisoning statistics to frame his debate. Now, just take a quick moment from my reporting. I did a little research this morning to see what figures Governor Pritzker was sharing. So during the press conference, Governor Pritzker shared this statistic. In the past 3 years, nearly 9,000 cases related to Delta 8 were reported to the National Poison Control Center, right? Breaking it down, if my math is correct, and I'll have this linked in my article, that averages about 3,000 cases per year across 50 states. And of those, admittedly in the figures that Pritzker cited, 41% involved individuals under 18, which translates to fewer than 1,500 cases annually. In other words, roughly 30 cases per state per year. Despite these relatively low numbers, in my opinion, I mean, it's pretty low, measures are being taken that could jeopardize an entire economic sector. And while proponents like Pritzker argue that House Bill 4293 simply brings rogue products under Illinois' strict cannabis regulations, critics see a more calculated agenda. This legislation conveniently aligns with the interests of the Illinois cannabis industry. Rather than addressing public health concerns, this seems to be a reactionary measure aimed at bringing hemp under the same restrictive system that governs marijuana in Illinois. And in case people didn't know, restrictive licensing and high pricing have always been a core feature of Illinois cannabis policy, and Pritzker has candidly acknowledged this in the past, saying, quote, "The reality is we've limited the number of licensees in part because we wanted to make sure that the social equity licensees in the industry had a fair shot and they weren't just edged out by having too many dispensaries in the market so that people can't make money." Sounds like New York, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was an end quote there. So just to wrap this up, and I'll have a little bit of commentary and pass it over to the panelists. The emergence of hemp-derived cannabinoids, in other words, products sold freely in an open market, which Texas enjoys, undermines these goals that Illinois has entirely, because the legal hemp-derived market is essentially offering accessible, lower-cost products that are truly identical. And I'm actually quoting Charlie Bachtel, the CEO of Cresco Labs, who came on my show, outside of the confines of CRTA dispensaries. So the question that I'm going to ask the panel, I want you guys to cook on while I just pitch you a little bit of last bit of commentary from me. Is this truly about protecting children? Or is it about protecting a carefully constructed oligopoly on cannabis sales in Illinois? In my opinion, House Bill 4293 is a major step back that threatens the accessibility that cannabis consumers have enjoyed with these federally legal cannabis products. I mean, these products have become a staple in a variety of reputable retail spaces, from grocery stores like County Market to corporate liquor stores like Benny's, gas stations, bakeries, smoke shops, bars, restaurants, and beyond. And again, if I didn't make it clear enough, dispensaries in Illinois remain largely inaccessible. Delivery services are prohibited, despite Governor Pritzker previously expressing support for such an idea. Credit cards, as you all know, in the cannabis industry are not accepted. And in Illinois, as I've kind of said, the number of dispensaries is extremely limited. And Illinois, as has been reported by several different states, several different academic sources actually, has some of the highest cannabis prices in the nation. And I just want to mention that when introduced, House Bill 4293 was widely opposed. Proponents of the legislation largely included cannabis regulators themselves and people in the cannabis industry. They made up less than 5% of stakeholder feedback. There were 32 proponents and 773 opponents. I think that says something for the political process that many people participated. And I'll just say that, you know, the Illinois cannabis market is now over a decade old. People don't realize that. They think it's just been 5 years. No, the Illinois cannabis market has existed since 2014. It started as a medical market. The adult use market started in 2020. And for many cannabis consumers, the accessibility provided by these federally legal hemp products has been a refreshing alternative in a state known for its restrictive and overpriced market. And I'll just leave you with saying that I recently wrote a policy paper outlining a path forward for this. It's linked in my article. And since its release, 2 cannabis regulators have personally reached out to me that they found value in my proposal, and one of whom currently serves in the state of Illinois. And there's currently only one proposal in Illinois that's competing with this House Bill 4293 that aligns with the standards outlined in my policy paper. It's House Bill 5903, and rather than perpetuating the failed policies that we have, it empowers the state to address noncompliance through the Illinois Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, which would effectively align cannabis regulation with the standards that are applied to all consumer drugs. So I'm sorry, I just realized I do have 2 more quick thoughts then I'll pitch it back to the panel. I apologize for my lengthiness. Proponents have touted Illinois as the national model for equity. Jason always laughs about it. And the state's own disparity study revealed how those promises have fell short. They just recently released it and showed that by the end of 2023, not a single dollar of documented sales had gone to Black or brown owners. Instead, white male owners accounted for 78% of recreational dispensary sales and a staggering 91% of grower sales. And I'll just mention, in the interest of time, I did not read my entire article. So if you'd like to learn more or watch the press conference yourself, very, very entertaining, You can check that out now at colememo.com or on High at 9, the High at 9 News website. For High at 9 News, I'm Cole Preston from colememo.com, and I'm curious, what does the High at 9 crew think? Is this truly about protecting children, or is it about protecting a carefully constructed oligopoly on cannabis sales in Illinois?
Oh man, I'd say it's about protecting their own asses on the promises that they're trying to deliver by gaslighting people, saying, "Hey, we're trying to create generational wealth for all these people that were impacted by the war on drugs." It has nothing to do with protecting children, bro. Absolutely nothing. Nothing in there that I heard you talk about had to do with protecting children, bro. Because if that was the case, kids would be able to walk into these stores and purchase whatever they wanted to.
Right. Well, and what's
I'm sorry, Cole. That's just a political talking point. It sounds like your governor Prichter. Could have a better name for the governor, Prichter.
Mm-hmm.
No, but Prichter and our lieutenant governor here in Texas, Dan Patrick, got to get together and smoke a fat bowl because they're both making that allegation that here quoting from our governor, thousands of stores have opened to sell all types of dangerous products with unlimited THC. These stores even target your children. This, of course, from our very own Lieutenant Governor 2 weeks ago coming out. We have Senate Bill 3 here in Texas. It's trying to do the same thing. This isn't about protecting children. This is about protecting the cannabis industry and big marijuana, in my opinion. And the story that I'll read here later in this next segment is about the Ohio and the bill that they have. Many states getting rid of their hemp programs, so that's a big concern. And we have Senate Bill 3 that we're fighting here in Texas that was just announced. So to me, it's all about covering the oligarchy of large multi-state operators and keeping the marijuana. So we talked about the bribery there earlier with Jesse's story. You guys mentioned this. This is the big issue. I think that Rod Kite also hammers home a lot too, Cole, as you're familiar with his work. And so I got fired up on that story because we're dealing with it. The one that I'm reading here coming up next is dealing with the same thing with some colleagues that I have there in Ohio. So all about, demonizing bad. All of a sudden hemp is bad and how wonderful marijuana that's been ostracized for 7,500 years is great. So it's just kind of absurd.
Fair enough. I mean,
what makes it definitely absurd is that it's obviously a PR switch where they're just moving the terms around and getting us to move the talking point. And the proof is that there's no kids going in and buying hemp. If they want something, they are on Snapchat or Telegram, and they have a local plug who they met through their high school or whatever, and they can get anything they want on Snapchat, and they can get a full THC real vape pen and any kind of drug and every other thing. They're not going to go to a convenience store and buy hemp when they can buy
not only that,
really good.
Those products, the two products that Pritzker held up, I don't imagine the hemp-derived one is a $3 piece of candy. It's probably like $20.
Yeah, it's just not happening.
And it's like it's an oversight problem on two layers, I would say. First of all, I don't know. He mentioned a 2-year-old. I don't know a 2-year-old who's going in and buying anything, and maybe that was just.
How's the 2-year-old even got some money, bro? Like, what kind of chores do they do at 2 years old to even get an allowance?
To your point, I would say that if kids are getting this from stores, these are sketchy stores, right? And again, there's nothing, the point that Jesse just made, there's nothing stopping, especially even with this legislation that Pritzker is a proponent of, from allowing kids to purchase online. If they're really worried about that, online sales, as the lead sponsor has made clear, they're not touching.
Yeah, this
because they can't, by the way. It's a federally legal product. That's why they're not doing it. They don't want to be sued.
I mean, question, Cole, should we call your MSO players out there in Illinois, should we call them oligarchs?
The funny thing about that is that a lot of them are starting to get into this. So I don't know. I don't know. They seem to be seeing the light on this. You'd mentioned Rod Kite earlier, Russell. In fact, that policy paper I mentioned earlier includes things that I've learned from Rod Kite. I do believe that, you know, his policies really push the envelope forward. And I just, like, my last thought, it relates to, it sounds like a lot of stories we're having today. To maintain high prices, Illinois blocks open participation in the legal cannabis market and relies on criminal penalties to eliminate competition. And here's my, like, you just brought up the MSOs. It seems like both the state and the industry seem oblivious or indifferent to the fact that these policies continue the very cycle of harm that at least the Illinois cannabis laws were supposedly designed to address.
Exactly, bro. It's like they do one thing and then talk out of their ass the other way, and it's one policy this way, talk out of this way, and it's nothing is consistent with these guys.
Well, another thing I'd like to mention, just to recap on Cole's point. I mean, if they get rid of these sales in Texas or Illinois, it's not going to stop people from buying them online, right, Cole? I mean, you're still going to have the market's still there online. It may get rid of, you know, here in Texas, I think it's a $10 billion industry on, you know, hemp. And, you know, it's just baffling to see how they would get rid of an industry here that creates jobs and, you know, helps our fellow Texans. And then, you know, it's just, but anyway, just pointing out.
They don't care. They don't care, Russell.
No, they don't.
They don't give a shit about that. They don't give a shit about that. They just want people to be broke and dependent on government. And all those people might as well just call themselves Democrats at that point.
Well, and Russell made a really good point earlier. You must have a keen eye for this. I'm guessing it's because you're in the media and stuff. But yeah, this is absolutely part of a PR push. I have documents to prove that some of the biggest cannabis companies in this state are behind pushing these stories. They talk about it. Oh, you see this recent one we're pushing about the kids? I hope this one really resonates. So it's very interesting how... And this is what's so frustrating about this topic for me. Like, the way that I look at it, and I kind of said it earlier in reading the article, but I view this accessibility that we've gained with these products as wins. And it's just insane to me that there are people that I thought were on, like, my team that are saying, no, these products shouldn't be in gas stations or shouldn't be in liquor stores. It's like, if gas stations and liquor stores are selling Everclear vodka and smokes, like, why can't they sell cannabis?
Fair, man.
Yeah, aren't they going to try to sell cannabis at some point? Those convenience store owners.
I mean, a lot of them already are. Look at Minnesota; they're selling all those beverages up there. You know,
it's just it's just interesting because, like, I don't know about you guys, but when I went to a smoke shop back in the day to get a bong, or as we had to call it, a water pipe.
Right?
You know, before it was legal. I always remember thinking, like, when it's legal one of these days, I'll be buying weed here too. And now that's like that idea is being demonized, and it's just like, to me, people that argue for that seem to be arguing for cannabis to remain. It should be treated as a Schedule I drug. That's what it feels like.
Well, Cole, I think, and to your point, Cole, I think that the who's this hurting? This is hurting pharmaceutical industry. It's hurting the alcohol industry. It's hurting tobacco industry. Sales are down. Jesse, I see you nodding there, agreeing there with me. That's really who stands to lose from, you know, the $30 billion hemp industry that we've seen here in the last, you know, several years, you know, nationwide. So I think
you just found the actual kids.
Yeah, those are the kids.
These are the kids that need to be protected.
You know,
it's the pharmaceutical kids, Jesse. The alcohol and tobacco kids. They're losing millions and millions of dollars to the legal hemp market here, and so now we've got to ostracize hemp. But those are the kids in the sandbox.
You know what's interesting, though, about that, Russell, is that I had the head of the Illinois Craft Brewers Guild on my show, and they were part of the people that really stopped this hemp ban last time because they've all started to sell these products. And he didn't make a direct correlation, the executive director, but he did say that the closure of Illinois craft breweries seemed to peter off around the time that they were able to start selling these drinks, and they agreed to a carve out back in May that would allow them to sell until January 20th, 2025. Well, if they pass that on January 2nd through the 7th, like they're hoping, that gives them less than 20 days to basically still sell these legal products. I have a feeling we might see them come back out as opponents, but I don't want to speak ahead of term.
Well, here, Cole, let me just jump in one more thing, and I'll get back here to Jason. But, man, I remember reading a story on our show last year that we were baffled by the stat coming from Illinois, but I think it was in 2023, we read that the data showing for 2022 that cannabis sales, the tax on cannabis sales in Illinois exceeded that of the alcohol industry's sales of tax. And I read that story on the show a year ago or so, but that's got to be affecting the alcohol industry and that lobby effort. Is it the Mary Miller Act coming from a senator or a rep from Illinois?
Yeah, she's just right down the road from me. In fact,
so one of your buddies there, Cole.
What's that?
One of your buddies in your neck of the woods there.
Yeah, someone needs a primary.
Definitely affecting when you see the cannabis tax sales dollars exceeding that of alcohol in Illinois. It's very powerful. That alone.
Fair enough. And on all of that was a great little conversation. Thank you so much for that, Cole. We're going to roll into our final commercial, and we're going to be right back.
Are you a business that's suffering from the hyperinflation that is plaguing America today? We have the solution for you. That's right, Patriot Business Financing. Head on over to www.patriotbfc.com and apply for a loan up to $2 million. Any state, any industry, even the cannabis industry, the CBD industry, as well as the industrial hemp fiber industry. Secure up to $2 million today, and make sure that when you apply, you tell Paul you said hi from High at 9.
And we are back, you guys. And we are going to roll, that's right, we are going to roll right on in to Mr. Russell. That's right, Russell Dowden, hoster of the Texas Hemp Reporter, where you can find him in the great red state of Texas. And as well, he also does Texas Hemp Reporter magazine. That's a monthly publication that comes out and can get mailed directly to your mailbox, just like all of those Delta 8 and D9 products that are legal under the Farm Bill. That's right, it is none other the Texas Hemp Reporter himself, Mr. Russell Dowden.
Hey, thank you, Jason, and thanks for having me back on again this week. Great show with you last week on our podcast. You can check that out. I think it was podcast 198. Jason came on our show last week, so
yes,
great to be here again, and great conversation. I've got to get with Cole after the show too, because I think he and I got some synergy there. We might want to jump on each other's show or tic tac off of guests as well. But
love that.
Great conversation we're having this week. And then to piggyback kind of off a Cole's story there with Illinois, I mentioned Senate Bill 3 here in Texas. And last week on the show, I touched on the client I have. I have some colleagues that are in the state of Ohio industry. In my story here, industry fights back against another hemp killing bill in Ohio. We addressed this last week some. An Ohio State Senate bill set to render almost all of the hemp products in the state illegal, whether intoxicating or not, came up against significant backlash from the industry last week. This client I mentioned was at the Senate hearings where he was one of those giving backlash. Senate Bill 326, introduced by State Senate Steve Huffman on behalf of Governor Mark DeWine, is another in a rapidly expanding list of state bills aimed at clamping down on the proliferation of intoxicating hemp substances, but going far beyond this and threatening to wipe out nearly all hemp products. Last year, Ohio Senate passed language that sought to ban hemp products containing anything over extremely low limits of THC of 0.5 milligrams per serving or 2 milligrams per package as part of HB 86. Despite intense lobbying by the state's hemp industry, informing policymakers that this would effectively wipe out the hemp sector, SB 326 includes nearly identical language. Under such proposals, common non-intoxicating hemp products now, such as CBD oils or CBD beverages, and even some topical hemp products would be rendered illegal alongside the intoxicating compounds the bill claims to target. And so last week, one of my colleagues and others during the Senate Government Committee meeting, a number of key industry associations provided testimony in an effort to deter the blanket ban. Proponents of the industry pointed to significant economic contributions of Ohio's hemp-derived cannabinoid market, which generates over $704 million annually and creates over 8,000 jobs with $327 million in wages, $40 million annual tax revenue. This is from a 2023 economic impact report on the United States cannabinoid industry. But again, representatives from the U.S. Hemp Roundtable, who I'm friendly with and print many of their articles, American Healthy Alternative Associations, and various Ohio-based businesses testified last week against the bill, emphasizing the need for targeted regulations. The U.S. Hemp Roundtable, leading force against these increasingly common amendments, said in the testimony, quote, "We maintain our strong opposition to this approach and oppose any demarcation of intoxicating products as those amounts as the science simply does not support it. So strict bans will only support illicit sales of these products with no enforceable safety or age requirements, which does nothing to address the issue legislators have cited as the need for the new hemp legislation." So we see this happening not only in California with hemp, we see it happening in many states. Texas is dealing with this. This fight is going on, as you can see here in Ohio. Texas will be meeting here in the next legislative session, guys, in January. And so our industry right now is raising a lot of money to fund lobby efforts against that Senate Bill 3 here in Texas. So this is, as Rod Kite calls, Cole the hemp and marijuana war. But there's a lot of effort out there across the United States to ban hemp and protect the golden pony of marijuana. And so it's just we've got these battles that are going on all over the U.S., and we're about to get in the trenches with one here in the Lone Star State. And so I'll turn it back over to Jason, but that's my report here this week for the show, High at 9 News. Back to you guys, Jason.
Man, Ohio, bro, what's going on? All these people, man, all of a sudden, you know what I mean? California wanted to do it, and now we're seeing it trickle down to all these other states, Texas, Illinois, like you said, Cole, and now Ohio. And these people just need to get a grip on reality. I mean, especially with Ohio. I mean, they need to work on their whole cannabis program first before they start working on this. And I imagine that they probably think that if they do this, then all of a sudden their revenues are going to go up. But the reality is that all their revenues are going to Michigan, bro. Michigan is eating Ohio's lunch right now. Yeah, Texas has that happening here with New Mexico to our west, our brothers in Oklahoma to the north. In fact, I think even Arkansas has a better medical program than Texas, and I think Louisiana does too. Yeah, both of those states do.
And then cannabis, I think, is legal in Mexico. If it isn't, it is.
But at the same time too, to that, Russell, then you also have Florida, which I know a lot of Texans love to go to Florida. And Florida, they have a reciprocity there, and you know what I'm saying. If you are what they call a snowbird over there, you can get a recommendation in Florida as well.
Well, just to that point, Texas is surrounded by legal cannabis states. Yeah, and here we are trying to get rid of a $30 billion. $10 billion for Texas, industry that employs people, helps veterans, helps elderly. These products are, doing a positive thing for our economy, and Texas surrounded by states with better cannabis programs, and here we are trying to get rid of the federally legal hemp program that we already have proven is a successful market here in the Lone Star State. So just baffling that this is now just, not just happening here in the Lone Star State, but as you see, California, Illinois, other states having challenges. So we've got to straighten this thing out, man.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, Ohio is pretty surrounded for the most part too. I mean, I think Indiana is like the only state that's not right next to them that doesn't have a program in place. So it's just it is asinine to me that they are trying to do this, and I don't even really know if they understand that all that it does is spur the illicit market even more. You know what I'm saying? And adds fuel onto the fire by them creating these actions and creating these stories. I mean, but it does give us something to talk about, so that's fair enough.
Cole, you probably are familiar. Rod Kite just put out a 3-tier approach to the hemp industry. That I think people should take a look at his report on that. He's got good ideas on how that can be better regulated. And if you haven't, looked into that, viewers of the program might check out Rod Kite's Kite on Cannabis blog. He just released a report there on his view of this 3-tiered system for regulation, and I can let you comment on that if you'd like, Cole.
Yeah, I was actually going to say that's like one of the main components of my policy paper that I was encouraging people to look into, the 3-pillar approach, like you say. And since it's only 3 points, I can say them pretty quickly. Age gating for responsible access. We should apply age restrictions to ensure minors do not have access to these products, aligning with our public safety standards. Quality control for safety is the 2nd pillar. We should require adherence to GMP standards to guarantee product safety and consistency, and by doing so, address synthetic cannabinoid concerns by focusing on regulated safe production. And then the 3rd pillar is transparent labeling for consumer information. Ensure the products are labeled with clear ingredient and concentration details, along with potential side effects like impairment or drug test outcomes. And this is like my favorite part of this 3rd pillar: avoid arbitrary potency caps. Informed consumers should have the choice of product strength. Like in Illinois, we have 100 milligram caps, which are a little bit ridiculous. I know in states like California, am I wrong? You can get higher dosed products. Am I wrong, Jason? Like 1,000 milligrams.
I mean, not in legal stores, but you can definitely get them out here.
Maybe in med. Is that what it is?
No. You know what? I think what you're thinking of is tinctures. Tinctures they allow in California in the regulated market to be up to 1,000 milligrams per package. And
gotcha.
So some people will basically make beverages that they will classify as tinctures, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Michigan is a good example of a state. You can get 200 milligrams, on the adult use side. And I think that's fair. Like somebody like myself would rather buy a 200 milligram edible. Not that I'll eat the whole thing. Sometimes I will if I'm trying to have a good time. But that's one of the conversations that have come out of hemp is even in Illinois and several other places, like you mentioned Minnesota earlier, it's like this idea that it can only be low dosed drinks out of the dispensary. And I think that's ridiculous. Like I got this drink right here. It's 50 milligrams in a can.
Yeah.
Rock on, baby.
Look at that, Cole. That's definitely from the trap market.
Oh, no, this is actually from an Illinois cannabis licensed business that realizes that they can participate both in the licensed cannabis business and the hemp business and make just as much money. Apparently, it's so hard to get capital in Illinois. So this company has started selling hemp to fund their operation. Pretty cool.
Interesting. Jenny, you've been pretty quiet today. You have anything to say on this before we move on?
No, I'm exhausted, Jason. I told you.
She's exhausted. She's been partying. It's her birthday week this week, everybody.
No, she's exhausted from all this fucking bullshit.
Yeah, cute,
I'm exhausted
because
I played a golf tournament yesterday, and I was at the course from 8:30 a.m. till 6 p.m.
Oh, damn. Oh. Poor Jenny. It's her birthday week this week, you guys. So make sure you guys send her some love and whatnot. I'm gonna roll into my final story, you guys, because this is you know what I'm saying. This affects all of us, you guys, every single last one of us, because a top marijuana industry group asked the DEA judge whether it can question the agency in the rescheduling hearings, you guys. That's right. One of the nation's leading marijuana industry associations is asking a Drug Enforcement Administration judge to clarify whether it will be afforded the opportunity to cross-examine the agencies during upcoming hearings on the Biden administration's cannabis rescheduling hearings, you guys. With lingering questions about where DEA stands on the proposal to move marijuana from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 of the Controlled Substances Act, the National Cannabis Industry Association, better known as NCIA, has asked the DEA Administrative Law Judge John Mulrooney whether its status as a witness with a uniquely diverse perspective on the issue means it can question the agency at the hearings, you guys. When Mulrooney laid out the hearing process, he stipulated that the government and pro-rescheduling participants will be able to cross-examine the anti-rescheduling parties and vice versa. But he's also recognized the NCIA as both an interested person because it will be aggrieved by the proposed rule and also an association with a large and diverse membership who back the reform. To that end, the NCIA is seeking clarification on whether that dual status means it will be able to cross-examine both opponents of the rule as well as the DEA. Also, while the judge ruled that each designated participant is limited to one witness, the group is asking whether it can call two witnesses given its unique position in the proceedings. In a quote, they say, "We agree that our membership's experience will allow us to elucidate important evidence, though such cross-examinations. However, as both an interested person aggrieved by a portion of the rule, as well as a DP whose interests are otherwise largely aligned with the pro-rescheduling DPs, we are left speculating as to whether the government and the pro-rescheduling DPs will be allowed to cross-examine NCIA's witness in support of its limited objection to the rule, and whether NCIA will in turn be allowed to cross-examine the government's witnesses as an interested person, you guys." In an additional quote, "While we value the ability to present a witness on our limited objection and for cross-examination by the government as the nation's oldest and largest trade association for state-regulated cannabis, NCIA believes it would be able to provide qualified witnesses that would particularly beneficial to the court and provide unique insights drawing on the experiences of its large and diverse membership with a commercial perspective available to it that would be helpful to the adjudication of this notice of proposed rulemaking," it said. The ALJ's pre-hearing ruling also set time restrictions for testimony and cross-examination of each of the parties, stressing the importance of the efficiency in the process, and NCIA said it understands this tribunal desire to limit superfluous live testimony. As such, it said if the group is allowed to present two witnesses, it would not take up to 90 minutes each and would instead limit their testimony to 60 minutes each in order to be as efficient as possible with both direct examinations. The additional witnesses that the association wants to call to testify is Jennifer Mitchell, a professor of neurology at the University of California, San Francisco, who also serves as the chair of the Research Advisory Panel of California, better known as RAP-C, in the California Attorney General's office, and she also works for the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, currently serving as the associate chief of staff for research and development at the San Francisco VA Medical Center. NCIA contended that Mitchell possesses decades of experience in relevant roles that distinguishes her from the other designated participants. And also, unlike the DP's opposing rule, none of the DPs in support of the rule other than NCIA have standing as a interested person, thus entitling NCIA's witnesses to greater deference from the tribunal and ensuring that at least some of the evidence submitted in support of the rule is given equal weight to the evidence submitted in opposition to the rule, it said. Mitchell said in an affidavit submitted to the ALJ that she is not aware of any significant scientific or medical research on marijuana published after the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services recommendation that would either contradict the HHS's findings or undermine my confidence in the analysis that serves as the basis for the HHS recommendation to reschedule marijuana. In a quote, "It is consistent with my own professional opinion that marijuana has widely accepted medical use and a lower potential for abuse when compared to other drugs and schedules in Schedule 1 and 2, she said. NCIA additionally asked the judge to allow witnesses to participate via video teleconference and to let the association's leadership attend specific dates of the hearings. DEA, for its part, also turned in materials to the agency judge on the homework deadline he set for Friday, and it asked Mulrooney to approve subpoenas to compel FDA officials to testify at upcoming hearings on the marijuana rescheduling proposal. DEA also said it would be introducing tens of thousands of public comments it received as part of the rulemaking process as evidence, even though the judge said in a pre-hearing ruling that such comments are not evidence and cannot be admonishing the agency not to attempt to insert the submissions, it said. Meanwhile, a coalition of health professionals that advocates for cannabis reform also recently asked the DEA judge to halt future marijuana rescheduling hearings until a federal court is able to address a series of allegations they're raising about the agency's witnesses selection process. And that came on the same day as Mulrooney's issued a ruling that laid out the timeline for merit-based hearings on the rescheduling proposal. Doctors for Drug Policy Reform requested that the DEA judge stay the hearings, which are currently set to commence on January 21st, pending a review from the U.S. District Court of the District of Columbia Circuit. A separate organization that was also denied participation, Veterans Action Council, similarly filed a petition with the same court last month to request a review of the agency's decision to exclude it from the proceedings. Mulrooney also recently addressed motions seeking to remove the DEA from the proceedings altogether, in part due to the alleged unlawful communications with the president of one of the designated participants, the prohibitionist group Project SAM, or Smart Approaches to Marijuana, signaling that that he considered it statutory complex and potentially impactful to force the agency to turn over its records on the reported ex parte communications. In a quote, "If people were going to be bad people, would they write it down in a memo so that everyone could read it?" End quote. He asked attorney Matt Zorn, who filed the Freedom of Information Act request and submitted a lawsuit to obtain any records of the talks and represents D4DPR in the latest motion. In a quote, they say, "What are you chasing? Are you chasing a note that somebody wrote? I had an improper conversation with somebody else. I wanted to put it in the memo in case someone wants to indict me," end quote. The researching proceedings have generated significant public interest. While moving marijuana to Schedule 3 wouldn't federally legalize it, the reform would free up licensed cannabis businesses to take federal tax deductions and remove certain research barriers. But while the DEA is designated as the proponent of the proposed rule, there's been skepticism about where the agency's leadership actually stands on the issue and whether it may insert bias into the hearing process. In a pre-hearing statement submitted last month, DEA previewed the testimony its two agency witnesses plan to provide at the upcoming hearing without clarifying where it stands on the rescheduling proposal. And the agency also said that the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, which carried out a scientific review that informed the proposal to move cannabis to Schedule 3, rejected its request to provide witnesses. While the initial preliminary hearing happened on Monday, the merit-based proceedings were delayed until at least early 2025 after Mulrooney notified the DEA that it provided insufficient information about the 25 selected witnesses that Milligram submitted. And meanwhile, Mulrooney also denied a motion to remove the agency from hearings on the cannabis proceedings. However, he sharply criticized responses from the DEA and a prohibitionist group over an allegation that they unlawfully communicated during the cannabis rulemaking process. An attorney subsequently filed a lawsuit against the DEA for allegedly violating federal public records laws, requesting that the court compel the agency to disclose communications with SAM. And separately from that, the judge denied a request from a cannabis and psychedelics researcher to postpone the upcoming researching hearing over the agency's alleged improper blocking of witnesses. while arguing that the process should be halted at least until President-elect Donald J. Trump's administration comes into power so it can review the rulemaking. Mulrooney also rejected a veterans group's petition to participate in the rescheduling hearing, which the organization called a travesty of justice that excludes key voices that would be affected by the potential policy change. And that group has asked the U.S. Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit to intervene on its behalf. And this article goes on a little bit more, and that's pretty much the story, you guys. And I can't wait to hear what you guys all have to say about this.
Just insane. Anybody got anything? I've got thoughts, but I'll give people space.
Go ahead, Cole.
It sounds kind of cool what NCIA is trying to do.
They're trying to double dip on the comment section.
Well, they're trying to interview and put
cross-examination.
Both sides.
Yeah, they're trying to have the ability to cross-examination, which I think could be interesting. You know what I mean? It definitely could be interesting. I agree with that part. But
that's kind of the point. Is a lot of times the cross-examiners are coming from a reefer madness point of view. Mm-hmm. So they're interviewing with, and maybe not nefariously. They're not intending. I don't think that they're waking up going, I'm gonna be against this, but they just have heard so many things for so long that are not true that they cross-examine from the wrong point of view. And I think it is fair for real cannabis people who know what's going on to have an opportunity to cross-examine from that side. That totally makes sense to bring balance.
Yep.
Yeah, they have a predisposed position on where they're coming from before they get into the cross-examination. So it's not fair either.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. What are you going to say, Cole?
Oh, I was just saying the Sam thing is just an amazing part of that article. I can't remember exactly what you said, but it's something like, let me put that into the memo so that somebody can indict me. Nobody was documenting any communication that they had. I've had the folks from Sam on my show a few times. If people want to check out some episodes, you can go to colememo.com/Jordan, Jordan.
Like Michael.
One of their... Yeah, like Michael from Chillinois, as Jason likes to say.
I like Chillinois, bro.
There's that picture, though, of Kevin Sabet and I'm sorry, Jason, but it was honestly hilarious. You called her Ann Milligram.
I do, yeah, Annie Milligram.
Did you do that purposely?
Yeah.
Okay, I liked that. Anyways, there's that picture of Ann Milligram and Kevin Sabet at that one event. And, he's got his hands up like this and they're talking, and again, it'll just be interesting because they definitely seem to have communicated. And like, what was it? The attorney Zorn, I think said, why would they document all of that? And they had to have known full well that was...
Let me tell you why they documented it, Cole, okay? Because these people communicate via email and text message like most people do, just like we saw what was the guy's name that was communicating in regards with trying to set up Trump, and it was the two FBI agents that were saying, hey, yeah, we're going to set him up, we can't let him go in, and da. Now these FBI agents know good damn and well that communications are monitored and things like that, but yet they still communicated these incriminating things. And so it's not like Project Sam is any smarter than these FBI agents that got caught. Agent Strzok, that was the name, Agent Strzok.
I mean, you do have a point there. I don't know. It's gone pretty viral. There's that moment recently where Kevin Sabet went live on C-SPAN to debate the head of NORML, Paul Armentano.
Yep.
And Luke, who's also been on my show, called into the show. And it's not like he gave a fake name or anything, but like when you call into the show and ask a question the way that he did, you should... I'm glad that Paul called them out for it. Do you know what I'm referring to, Jason? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was just really interesting to see Paul say, just so you know, that caller was Luke from Sam.
Exactly. Yep.
So to your point, I guess the reason I bring that up is like maybe they would have done that. Look, maybe the boys at Sam did, but do you think the DEA did? That's my question.
100%. The DEA pulls all kinds of tricks and things over people's heads all of the time. 100%, because they understand that their job is to win at all costs, and that's what a lot of these government officials feel. I mean, we saw that with the election steal in the 2020 election. That's how we ended up getting Biden.
Yeah, I guess that's why, just to use another Illinois corruption reference, there's a big case going on around Speaker Madigan, and one of the things he was pretty famous about was never texting or emailing or writing anything down, really. And the way they ultimately got him was through a wiretap.
See?
My point, though, is, like, I don't think anybody from DEA or SAM, like, they clearly communicate off record.
They definitely communicate.
That's my point.
100%.
That's my point. Really.
100%. But just because you're communicating on your own private device doesn't mean that's not able to be tapped. You know what I mean? It could just be as simple as a phone record. It don't even have to necessarily be a text message or an email. This could be a recorded conversation. NSA records all that shit.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, Jason. Kevin Sabetho is in Washington, D.C. with the DEA, and they have pictures of them communicating. That's what I mean by off the record. Like, I guess maybe they could have bugged their phone, but you know what I mean?
Hey, I mean, in all fairness, communicating face to face is the best way to communicate. Huh?
Do you remember that? Sam is the one that broke the news about rescheduling.
That's what I'm
Just
saying.
another sign
Exactly. There's no way you can't tell me that these people aren't in cahoots together.
Certainly interesting.
Well, we know they're in, Jason. This is the third or fourth story we've discussed it on.
Fair enough, Jenny. Jenny's tired. Jenny's ready for a nap. We're going to keep this train. We're going to roll. We're going to see you guys tomorrow. Thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. Big thank yous to our audience and supporters for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry. Huge thank you to Catalyst for helping us keep the lights on over here, and thank you to our correspondents for being absolutely amazing. Thank you, Cole, for joining us today. Special guest on Monday, Cole from the Cole Memo, and also Russell from the Texas Hemp Reporter, filling in for Yarrow. So Russell will be here again with us tomorrow as well. And thank you all for Cannabis Sativa L for giving us a reason to do this. And thank you to Cloud Media Partners. Adam out there in the metaverse. Adam, make sure you're getting that Christmas music ready. And thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us. We are America's #1 daily cannabis news show.
2, 1, 2, 3, 4.